guys, so today I'm doing a review on Party Games by R.L. Stine. It's a Fear Street novel. Fear Street is his series for young adults. I'm an R.L. Stine fan from way back. I loved Goosebumps. I haven't read any of the other Fear Street novels, and this is one of the more recent ones that came out in 2014. The first part of this review is going to be spoiler free, so I'm going to start by reading you guys the blurb just so you get the gist of what this book is about. And I just find blurbs in like horror type books are always kind of funny because they try and make them sound really scary. So when Rachel and the rest of the guests arrive at the island, the party games begin. But the games Brendan Fear planned aren't games that anyone would want to play. When a scavenger hunt turns up some horrifying surprises, Rachel has to fight to survive the deadliest game of all, the game of murder. So you can see what I mean. They try and make it sound really scary. It's just like a Goosebumps book but longer, and the characters are older, around 17 I think. So they do teenagery things like kiss and drink. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time I was reading this book. You can tell that it came out in 2014. R.L. Stine's thrown in some modern references, so he drops, you know, in a sprinkling of things like Facebook, Netflix, Wi-Fi. The way the characters talk is quite up with the times. I feel like there was this one quote that cracked me up, like, "My stupid parents are being stupid again." And I just feel like that's so reflective of the way that our younger generation talks now. I really like the characters in this book, but as a side note, I want to point out that R.L. Stine tends to give every single character, even the ones that are completely minor, a first name and a last name. And I just find that really funny because I'm like, I don't know some of my friends' last names, I don't know my flatmates' last names. How does this girl know everybody's first and last name? So yeah, the main character Rachel, I actually found myself admiring her. She's super witty and confident. She kind of mentions that she's not the most popular kid or whatever, but she comes across really confidently, and I really like that. Throughout the story, she's also really brave. She doesn't make any really stupid decisions. I was like, this girl's smart, I like this girl. Another character I want to mention is Eric. He's a bit of a minor character. He's just like one of the kids she goes to school with, but he's really funny, and I feel like his character is really well thought out and really well written. He's the kind of person you can never have a serious conversation with, and R.L. Stine portrays that perfectly, and I feel like everyone knows a dude that's like that, who is just kidding all the time. And yeah, I really enjoyed Eric's character. Another side note is that the reason I keep referring to the characters as like kids is because that's what Rachel does, and I just find that kind of weird as well, because I don't know, I'm 22, so I'm not in high school anymore. To high school people, like to high school kids, do they call each other kids? Because I feel like when I was in high school, if you were talking about a kid, you'd be talking about someone younger than you. So I just found, yeah, I found that weird. But let me know in the comments if you're in school still and you call each other kid. They also were saying stuff like, this would be a great place to film a horror movie. I say things like that in my real life all the time. That would be a great place to film a horror movie. So I like that they said that a couple times. A random thing I want to say is that there's a couple of like ghost stories within this book, and I really like stories within stories, so that was really satisfying for me. If you're wondering, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. My Goodreads account and stuff is linked in the information box down below, so if you want to follow me on Goodreads or add me as a friend or something, feel free. If you haven't read this book yet, go away, read it, come back, watch the rest of this video, because I think it's the kind of book that you just want to talk about it. It like really got me. So I'm gonna do like a bit of a rant about it now, and if you feel the need to, come back, watch this video, comment after you've read it. So the way I wanted to go through the rest of the book was to do my top 13 like gasp moments. This is because there were so many twists in this book and so many shocking moments that I just want to talk about all of them. So the first one is when Rachel finds a dead rat planted in her bed. That happens quite early on in the story. You're like, what is this? This is so sadistic. This is like serial killer as. The second one was the first ghost story that you hear, which is the Victorian Fear ghost story, who's like the old aunt who taxidermies herself. The third gasp moment was when you think Brendan Fear has hung himself. What? One of the main characters just died. 2 seconds later, it's like, jokes, that was a mannequin, he didn't actually die. Fourth gasp moment was when Patty dies like a couple seconds after that, and you're like, okay, this must be a joke as well, and then it's not a joke. Number 5 is the hunting party story. This was the moment where I was like, this story is really dark. They sent their servants on the island into the forest and then hunted them. So horrific. Number 6 is when they all see the rifleman on camera, because you're like, oh my god, there's something actually going on here. Number 7 is when Kerry dies. Number 8 is when Eric dies, and I was actually physically gutted because he was my fave. Number 9 is when Brendan's like, lol, That was fun. Just kidding, no one's dead. I felt like how Rachel would have felt. I was like, that's not funny. I was freaking out. Gave me all the feels. Number 10 was when the riflemen don't take off their masks and Brendan's kind of like, and he realizes that they're actual like bad guys. Number 11 is when Mac gets shot. If you're wondering, no one dies in this book. That was what kind of amazed me, because so many people you think died and then in the end they're not actually dead. So I kind of like that it wasn't too heavy or anything like that, because no one actually died, but at the time you think they did, so it's still got that like suspense and you get the adrenaline going. Number 12 is when Rachel shoots one of the riflemen. There's a quote that's something like, she's thinking in her head, yes, one down, one to go. You weirdo. Who shoots someone and then thinks yes, and then she was like, nah, I was just imagining that, and you're like, of course you were, because that was really weird. Number 13 is when Brendan reveals that the police officers weren't actually police officers. That was just the cherry on top of the cake. It solved everything, but they weren't even real policemen. It just like actually cracked me up. So this book was kind of, it had me on the edge of my seat freaking out, but then on the other side of it I was cracking up because of how wound up I was letting myself get, and it's really funny. So overall, this book was a super entertaining read. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you've read it. If you haven't read it and you watched all the way to the end, I do that sometimes too on spoiler reviews, because I watch so many reviews that and I have a really terrible memory. There's no way that I'm going to remember the ending, so I often do that. So if you did that, let me know. But I totally recommend you read this book. It's a really fun read. I had a really good time reading this, and I'm having a really good time talking about it. So I'd love to discuss with you in the comments about this book or the Fair Street series. Like I said, this was the only one that I've read so far, so I really want to check out the rest of them. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. That's it for me. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you with my next one. Goodbye.